Hey everyone, this is John.
This is Hector.
And up next we have Death of X. Now just as a little bit of a setup here, the Terrigen Mist in Death of X have become this catalyst that is leading to a breaking point for all of mutant kind. They find out through the events of Death of X that it kills mutants very quickly in some cases with this really grotesque cellular breakdown. But it also sterilizes mutants, as we find out in Extraordinary X-Men, where once again there are no more mutants being born, which seems to be a running theme here. What was not known when the Terrigen Mists were released upon the world by Black Bolt was that it would do these things. But also I feel like Black Bolt didn't give a shit.
No, I mean, it was part of the Infinity event, because Marvel, we don't do crossovers anymore, we do events. Because, we need money. They want our money.
Just everything's just events now. Just all events all the time. Don't worry about it. Just go.
The last crossover was what? Battle of the Atom? X-Men?
Yeah, I'll go along with that, sure.
I mean, there's been little ones, like there was a small one with Avengers Assemble and Captain Marvel, just because it was the same writer, and instead of just making it one story, they made it like she used both titles that she had to do a crossover. But you really don't have those big events anymore that are just strictly crossovers. When I remember when Battle of the Atom happened, it was advertised as an X-Men crossover. They still said event, but they focused more on a crossover because it ran through each one of their titles. And we don't get that anymore. So that's just a side note, because events. But during Infinity, that was the ultimate solution that Black Bolt decided to do. Was him and his brother Maximus, they decided that the way to win the day was to have a Terrigen bomb and just boom everything. And that's what happened, and created the clouds.
Okay, so you have two clouds of these mists roaming throughout the world. And, a lot of this with the events around the Inhumans feels a lot like ways to try to bolster their popularity.
Yeah, I mean, they want to make Inhumans happen. That's what Marvel wants.
I mean, if we want to put on our tinfoil hats for a while here, I mean, it could be a way for marketing, and also a way to maybe fade mutants into the background. A lot of people thought that was going to be the case for a while.
For the Fox, Marvel Studios type of thing, yes.
Right, all, conspiracies and speculation. But, I mean, I think the fact is that, especially now that we've had Regenesis, mutants aren't going anywhere.
Yes.
So, that's a good thing. And Inhumans are going back into space, which is also,
yes.
Thank you, go away.
They're annoying.
I think it especially, it looks like they're trying to bolster their popularity by putting them at direct odds with the X-Men.
Yes.
Who, in a lot of ways, I feel like are probably the most mainstream, or at least most recognizable characters for Marvel.
Well, I mean, they were for the longest time until, the Marvel movies started happening.
Sure.
So, X-Men, but it's kind of also one of those things where if you want to make somebody look like a bad guy, who's the easiest to do it to? The X-Men. Because that's what, I mean, A versus X, all that fun stuff.
Cyclops is in charge, so...
Yeah. Well, Cyclops.
But we do begin Death of X with Cyclops and company going on to Muir Island, because they get a distress call. The Terrigen Mists hit there. At the time, they don't know that the mists are deadly, but they do find Madrox dying.
Which hurt. It really did. I am a huge fan of the Peter David X Factors back in the 90s, and when they brought it back. Such a great character. So to see him die that way just really hurt.
Kind of unceremoniously?
Yeah, it's just like it was like, go big or go home. And he just went home. But
at this point, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just, it was a great spread to see all of his dupes dead, but at the same time, you're just like, he's such a predominant X character. He's been there since the 60s, so his death should be really significant.
Yeah.
They never even tell us what happened to Gold Balls.
Oh, that's true. He just kind of disappears, doesn't he?
Yeah, they tell us, hey, he's sick,
Yeah.
but they don't tell us that he died.
Right. Yeah. Whatever.
I mean, he's a knockoff character anyway.
Yep. So, I mean, at this point in the Marvel stories, Cyclops is fully notorious.
Yes.
And we talked about this on the last show. It's been such a fascinating arc for the character from this true believer to this survivalist to very nearly a villain. But he's still very respected. Like, Magic is still with him. Of course, Emma Frost is still with him. Iceman is going around with him. The Stepford Cuckoos are still hanging out, mostly because of Emma, I assume. But, it's not like other mutants are avoiding him the way that they would avoid, say, like a Sinister or a Magneto back in the day. His word still carries some clout.
I mean, they had the Cyclops was right shirt.
Yeah, they sure do.
So
Which I own.
Of course you do. But yeah, they. I mean, you see these mutants that have turned their back on him at some point to like come back to him, which shows you, like you said, how much they still follow him.
Yeah. So at this point in the story, you see Scott keel over, and it's important to note because, of course, we're talking about a storyline here. We are going to spoil these storylines. So it's important to note at this point that he is dead. This is how he died. He got too much of the Terrigen Mist and got all boily and stuff and keeled over. Emma was the only one with him.
Yes, and the thing about it too is that once after Secret Wars happened and we get Extraordinary X-Men, we get Uncanny again, and we get all these other X titles, we know something happened to him.
Right.
Because they all mention it in each book, that he's either dead or something bad happened. They never go fully in and tell you what it was. And this is them. We knew he died. Everybody knew it. And now we're finally finding out how he did. Which, yeah, he went home too.
He sure did. But for the rest of the storyline, Emma Frost is projecting the image of Cyclops into everyone's mind, and doing so rather convincingly, which she should be able to do. She's been with him for quite some time.
And she's also an Omega level.
Yeah.
So it probably wasn't hard for her to do.
The only ones who really see through it are the Stepford Cuckoos. And you get this moment where she's like, shut up, I don't want to talk about it.
Exactly. And a lot of it is, too, is because they share a connection with her. Like, the one thing about the Stepford Cuckoos is that people forget that they're actually little Emmas.
Yeah.
So they have a connection. They know, especially when they're together, they are actually more powerful than she is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they know. And they didn't say anything.
So this whole story, Death of X, is as much about Emma Frost as it is about Cyclops' death, or maybe even more so about Emma.
I feel like it is more of an Emma story, because she just comes in. It's her pulling the strings the entire time.
Yeah.
And it's not to the very end. I mean...
And the strings that she's pulling are going to reach beyond this story.
Exactly. Everything now she's orchestrating. When we eventually talk about Inhumans versus X-Men, it's all her.
Yeah.
It's her. She's the one that is making the decisions. And this is kind of the seeds that are planted.
Yeah, and she is just orchestrating and deceiving everyone. And it's showing that even though she has been technically a good guy for quite some time, even though she's just a bit disreputable for hanging out with Cyclops, that she is still just capable of flicking this switch and be like, you know what, no, time to dance, puppets. I'm in control here now.
And that's what I love about it.
And I think it also further demonstrates why they were together in the first place. Because Cyclops, we didn't really talk about this on the Cyclops show, but he has this brilliant tactical mind. The way he just figures out situations and knows exactly what to do. He's very decisive. He assesses a situation like, okay, this is exactly what we're going to do, and he sees that through to the end. Oh, he always knows exactly how to deal with things. And from the moment Emma steps out of the lab where Cyclops died, it's like, no, I know exactly what I'm about to do here. And she has this plan that she puts into movement immediately. her actual plan is that she's going to continue to project Cyclops into the mind, and she projects Cyclops into the mind of everyone in the world, and basically calls out the Inhumans like, hey, everybody lied to you because they said that these Terrigen Mists are safe, but it's killing mutants, and hey, it might kill you too.
And because even like I said, before Death of X happened, we knew it was doing something to mutants too, because we see, like in Uncanny Avengers, we see that Rogue has the Mpox. During A-Force, we see Dazzler has the Mpox. So you see all these different mutants in different titles who are affected by this.
Mm-hmm.
Which is always really interesting, especially with someone like Rogue, who is on the Unity team of Avengers. So that means it's a human mutant inhuman team. And she has to work with Inhumans knowing that this is what they did to her.
Right. At this point, she's showing Cyclops to the entire world despite how infamous he has become. But like we were saying before, his word is still garnering a lot of clout. Some people see him as a bit of an agitator, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
But they still listen when he talks.
Yes.
And when he says these things, like the Terrigen Mists might get you, it does cause people to panic. Like they believe that what he is saying is true. So, in accordance with her plan, she then sends the Stepford Cuckoos to go get someone for her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to go get Alchemy.
Alchemy, someone you haven't heard from since like the extreme 90s years.
I had to look this guy up. I had no idea who he was.
Yeah, he was there for a hot second. He wasn't there for very long.
I found like references to him in like maybe a half dozen issues or storylines. Yep. He's made brief appearances here and there, but here he is. He's about to save mutant kind.
Yay.
If anyone's unfamiliar, Alchemy is this character who transmutes matter or chemical compounds into other chemical compounds. What I was reading about him, it was most commonly associated with gold. He turned things into gold.
Right. Which is pretty much where he got his name from.
Right. So they're clearly going to use him to change the Terrigen Mists into something else. And all the while, there's this other storyline going on about the Inhumans recruiting new members, and then the Inhumans and Storm and the X-Men are trying to move the Clouds away from Madrid because people are panicking about it.
Yes.
And this is all a bit inconsequential and a little bit artificial because you have this tension between the mutants and Inhumans that feels very contrived because there's a new Inhuman who can just basically render people unconscious. And when he does that to the X-Men to help stop a riot, and when they wake up, they're pissed about it. It's like, well, you really shouldn't be that pissed about this. It doesn't seem like that big a deal.
He just saved everybody.
Right.
But Emma also be putting it in their minds that it's us versus them, and this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. Also, she gets in contact with our good friend Magneto.
Yes.
Who, as it turns out, has one job to do: just distract everybody.
And he can do that. He's really good about doing that.
Yeah. This whole time, the entire time you're seeing all these events play out, she's starting to strain to keep it together, to keep that illusion of Cyclops in everyone's mind. Most of the time she's trying to keep herself away from everybody else. People have to track her down and just quickly project the image of Cyclops to keep the illusion up. But I think that, reading through this storyline multiple times, I think they did a really good job of setting up the final twist.
Right.
I think that the story works on the level of you don't know that he's dead, and then it also works again on the next level where you know that he's dead and you're reading through the whole thing again.
Yes, because even when you know after you read the final part of it, and you go back and you reread it, you're like, oh,
yeah,
they really did a good job of setting this up. Like going back and okay, all right, because she is definitely in all of the panels that he's in.
Yep, sure is. And it is a bit of a trope for these final twists and all sorts of media. He was dead the whole time.
Yes.
But they pulled it off well.
I mean, they Sixth Sense us is what they did.
Sure did. And then what we have happening after Magneto is keeping everyone contained. You have Emma and the Stepford Cuckoos and Alchemy and Magic and Sunfire. Sunfire shows up.
Because they were in Japan, so of course he has to show up.
Sure. And the Ghost of Cyclops. go to destroy the Terrigen Cloud that is near Madrid. And even though you have this conflict between Magneto and the other X-Men and Inhumans in Madrid, you have other Inhumans show up anyway.
Right.
Which I think just goes to show that it's all a bit artificial. This whole conflict between, like, Eric, you keep them all contained, and then guess who shows up? Just more Inhumans,
right.
just to build up that tension a little bit more. So there's this confrontation. Sunfire flies Alchemy up to the top of the mist, drops him right down in there, and he uses his powers to change it all, but does not survive long after the trip.
Nope, he ends up catching the Mpox and dies instantly, pretty much.
Dies in the Ghost of Cyclops' arms.
Yes. Which is probably just a rock that he was leaning on.
Right. Well, you know, he's successful. That Terrigen Cloud was destroyed. One down, one to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this final confrontation between Cyclops, who goes to confront the Inhumans, and Black Bolt. And basically, Cyclops here is offering himself up.
Yes.
He's going like, yes, we destroyed your Terrigen Mists. You're going to want retribution. You can take it out on me here.
Which, once we figure out why, it's just Emma's way to give him that proper death.
Right.
Is what it was. She wanted him to go out in a glorious, just glorious rate of fire.
Yeah, she wanted him to go big rather than go home.
Exactly. So, and she gave him that. And the fact that the only one that really caught it was his brother, was Havoc.
Two-Face Havoc.
Two-Face Havoc. He comes in and he's all like, something's not right here. Scott wouldn't do that.
Right.
He would go back, he would retreat, and try to figure the next step.
Yeah, he's not the type of guy just to be like, okay, go ahead and finish it.
Yeah.
He's going to keep fighting. And actually, something that I did want to mention on the previous show, but I forgot about it, is we talked about Cyclops basically sacrificing himself when he jumped in front of Apocalypse and merged with Apocalypse. There was another moment in the Astonishing storyline, I think it was the Ghost Box storyline, where Cyclops gets transported to another universe.
Yes.
And it's this universe where, like, the planet is basically being held together by, like, draining the powers from Cyclops. And the Xavier in this universe sends out Storm to basically recruit Cyclops from other universes, bring them back so they continue maintaining their own existence by using Cyclops. And there's this moment where Cyclops is like, no, I don't want to do this. This is fucking bullshit.
Right.
There's this moment where he opens up this I don't know, closet door, and all of these Cyclops visors pour out. Like, this is how many they've gone through in order to maintain their existence. And this is how many Cyclopses have basically offered themselves up as sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
But not Earth 616 Scott Summers.
No.
He ain't going to do that. And it further shows the journey that he's on, where he is never going to stop fighting. He is never going to quit. And he puts on this ruse like, okay, I'll do it too. I'm going to save all these lives. It's going to be totally worth it. And then, nope, I'm going to blow up all your machines. Figure out your own shit. I'm going home.
Yeah. But, and so, like going back to it, it's just like Havoc knows this.
Mm-hmm.
He knows instinctively that that's not what his brother would do. So so when Emma reveals what actually happens, and that sinister look on that last panel.
Oh god, that final panel.
Oh, you're like, oh,
yep.
Well, there's the crazy eyes.
Yeah, you're about to witness another transformation here. She's on the road back to being full villain. I think it's important to just spend a few minutes in talking about like why the death of Scott Summers is so important for the X-Men, for Marvel Universe as a whole. Because despite his downward spiral since 2001, he's always been this galvanizing force for mutants.
He's also one of the originals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's also the one that pretty much maintained leadership through most of his career on the X-Men. So it's a big blow to them, because it's kind of like one of, like, I don't know, just someone you thought who was always going to be there is gone. Because look at it, even after like A versus X and all these other things that happened afterwards, he still was a leader in some form. Yeah. He was still a representative of the mutant race. So,
He was still going out there rescuing mutants who were about to get their asses kicked just because their powers manifest for the first time.
exactly. So yes, people see him as that. And that's why
Even though he had taken this notorious turn, when the original 5 X-Men come into the present day from the past, Warren Worthington the Younger goes with him because he doesn't really like the way that the rest of the X-Men are really handling any of their situations.
right.
And I think that it's important to look at his arc as a whole, like his journey from being the young X-Men leader all the way up to present day and his death. And it's really such a fascinating arc for
Yeah.
this character, and it feels complete even though he died a little bit unceremoniously there.
Yeah. I mean, his death was very much it was more of a they gave him a martyr's death is what it was. He was a martyr. He sacrificed himself, and in actuality he was a victim of the Terrigen, the Spice. He was
I remember that band from the Terrigen Spice in
yeah,
the 90s.
yeah, right. He was a victim of the clouds.
Yeah.
Like, he was a victim of them all. And
I think more than anything, it puts this punctuation on the era where things are really bad for mutants.
right.
And I think coming out of Death of X and Inhumans versus X-Men, things are going to start to get better.
Yes.
So sadly, he did not make it out to see things get better, but he stuck through everything, every terrible thing that had happened to mutants, and he's always there in the forefront for all of that.
Right.
So by having him ride off into the sunset, so to speak, it's kind of signaling as there's a big change coming.
Right.
And if nothing else, it gives young Cyclops, young
Yeah.
Scott Summers
I
time.
mean, we
a
have one
chance to-
already. I mean, we don't need an original. We don't need the original Jean back. We have
And young Jean is so good. And
She
young
is.
Scott is so good.
It's before they were all corrupted by
Right,
life.
right.
It's the catalyst. That is exactly what this is. Scott went down. Now the X-Men, who, whether they agreed with his methods or not, they all followed him at one time or another. And now he's gone.
Yeah.
And he did so in a way, quote unquote, because it was just his projection, he sacrificed himself for them.
Mm-hmm.
He went in and was like, I'm going to take the blame for this. You take it out on me, but I'm going to try to go out in a blaze of glory as I'm going to unleash the most powerful of my optic blasts at you. But then, how extremely powerful is Black Bolt when he was taken down by Dazzler? But I'm just saying that, okay?
We're gonna get to that because yeah, he got his butt kicked.
But
and I think
yeah.
like the ramifications for all of this is that it again he becomes this galvanizing force to where every mutant and X-Men team now has to say, okay, now we have to do something about this.
Mhm.
And that leads up to the events of Inhumans versus X-Men. But then you see Storm once again resuming this leadership role in Extraordinary X-Men, which is a really great run. And then you start to see her bearing the burden of leadership when things are real shitty.
Mhm.
And you see her have to make decisions like, let's move everyone into limbo. And hey, look, there's Sunfire, Old Man Logan. Hey, if he tries anything, you fucking take him out. Which is something Storm would not have done
Nope.
previously.
The only time that I ever really saw her do that was during Mutant Massacre. But she was pushed up against a wall.
Yeah.
And she's like, Wolverine, I need a prisoner. What if there's more? I only need one. And Wolverine's like, all right.
It's exactly what he likes to do.
Exactly. This whole Death of X thing it's just Emma's way of just wanting to, I don't know. It's her way of giving it the okay to start this war.
Yeah.
Because, like the X-Men said, like they all said, we don't consider this an act of war. She did. Her and Scott flat out did. And not so much Scott because he's dead, it's Emma. She declared war. and she did it right there.
Yep.
And by them killing Cyclops and that last Cloud running around, the X-Men really didn't have, the mutants just in general did not have a choice.
Yep. And we're going to see more of that when we talk about Inhumans versus X-Men. But I think that's a good place to close it out here. On the next show, we're going to actually just get into a deep discussion here about Emma Frost.
Yes!